This is going to be a review of someone who in just 3 months made it or got that first UX job. Now, it didn't start that way. He applied for around 20 different roles until someone reached out and that interview led to that offer. So I think this is going to be a spectacular case to look at because it's one, going to be inspiring to see exactly what does it take. Two, also see what works and what doesn't work because portfolio is never done. But without waffling too much, let's just jump right into it and see exactly what that portfolio is about. So as you can see on my screen, it's quite presentable, and this is exactly what he got as a feedback from actual employer. And he describes himself as a UX UI designer based in Sydney. I like that he split his portfolio and clearly showed that this is UX, this is his background in architecture. It's one of those things which I noted down in one of the previous portfolio reviews, so I wonder if maybe he took it as one of the things to update. But it's good to see because this is exactly how you kind of want to distinguish and tell the potential hiring manager that this is my focus right now. And as you can see, he has 4 case studies. One is in progress and others are, I guess, done. But looking at each and every one, all of them are 2-week design sprint conceptual case studies, which is, in a way quite surprising because if, let's say, a role is super UX heavy, you might need to do more end-to-end test it and work for months until you arrive at something tangible. And having looked at the cases, I'm gonna pick up GetUp because I think that's, I guess, the most UX heavy. Invested some time to understand the as-is journey and as-is experience before crafting the to-be. He presents the actual outcome. He even says that friendly reminder, main points are highlighted for your convenience and user experience. So there's a bit of a cheap point, but still he's considering about the viewers, the hiring manager's experience, which is great to see. He's saying that it's a gamified exercise app which focuses on encouraging people to walk more and change their exercise habits through the help of friends and local community. So he developed a tier system, earn points, gamified it a bit, XYZ, and then he allows you to skip ahead to final design, which is interesting touch, right? So I guess he just scrolls you down as a user of a portfolio and says, here it is. And let's say if you care only about the UI outcomes, you can just see, okay, this is what it is, check the features. But what matters to me the most, I guess, from UX perspective, that the process was done in the right way. Output matters, of course, but it's UI design, right? So let's look at the UX. And he's stating in the challenge that research from Lord Mayor's Charitable Foundation suggested that Melburnians weren't getting enough exercise. This was conceptual project to create a solution XYZ. Show some more stats on that. Need to almost like add some sort of asterisk or refer to that actual study. That's quite interesting stats. I would draw it out basically. I would say this is what it actually is. So you could illustrate it, you could show a bit more stats about it. And he worked with other 2 designers. They used interviews, business analysis, competitive analysis, systems mapping, journey mapping, wireframing, and also focus on a lot of UX research. He did some business research, which is great. Naturally, in the real life scenario, the business research might be done by someone like a product manager or business analyst or someone, other stakeholders, which engages with you as a UX designer, says, this is what we want to do. This is our hypothesis. Go explore. Let us know what do we need to do for the user so they get the optimal experience and we achieve those business goals. He did some market research about the other apps, I guess, user research interviews. Now, you know my take. This is very quickly jumping into the actual solution and the app. I would question if you truly understand from just business research and market research that it has to be an app. App is very easy way to solve the problems because you have that skill set, you can design for it, you can develop. I suppose if you would have developers on board, and this app should come a bit later after you engage with the users to actually understand what do they use. And you did some journey mapping, but this is where I would want that channels to be captured. So they might be using apps, they might have gym membership, use YouTube for exercises, Fitbit tracker for step counters, they could be using some sort of newsletters, they might have a health coach, a service which is end-to-end, they might use Peloton, treadmill or bike. The options are vast, so you need to show me exactly what are you targeting and who did you talk to and what was that evidence, so the channels which are involved. It's a bit too narrow to just say, oh, we're gonna target apps and we're we're going to steal from other apps with customers. And having said that, this is more general note, but when I interview people, I always ask why that solution was the right one to go for. Do you understand why? Can you communicate why? It could be that a stakeholder comes to you or someone who initiates a project and says, I want this app designed, so go for it. You still need to understand why. You still need to go and explore and ask that stakeholder, why do they think that the app is the right thing? How do they know it? Where is that evidence coming from? All those different factors have to be considered and not just taken at a face value and just run with it because you're excited to do that. And I'm not going to go too much into detail, but I see that, you map some things. So you clearly present exactly what you considered, motivations, insights, interesting way to present that as well. And you're creating these interesting archetypes instead of personas, which is basically, I guess, they're behavior based, which is quite interesting way to present. And it's not too common, which I kind of wish more people would reflect of what's the best way to present the users they try to target. And this way, you're basically considering the behaviors, goals, and motivations first, instead of just putting a face to it and saying, this is who I'm targeting. And a big question mark to this is this statement, that what do they need together, and it's accountability. This is very, very laser focusing on one specific bit. And I understand that this could be because you did some marketing research and you understand that this is lacking in the industry and people need that from your user research. But there's going to be other factors also which you would need to consider. How did you prioritize and how did you arrive at this, that this is such a severe thing that it's a single thing? And then the next jolt, in a way, is a jump to immediately sketching and starting a design. Where is the ideations? Where is the how might we's? Where is that kind of like open divergent thinking of all the different things you could be doing? And how did you translate the accountability into these features? Is it that every feature here is going to be designed to make that happen? It needs to have more holistic thinking. And of course, this is good enough for a junior, but as you develop into the senior role, this is where there has to be a big stop before this accountability, before this design work. You would have to reflect exactly in what channel, to what extent, what the features are like, then prioritize, then only put them into prototypes, then user test, and then get something out of that and develop it. It's just that if you would want to optimize your chances to stand out from a crowd of other juniors, you might want to see exactly what else could that step involve and break it down clearly and say that this is what accountability is, this is always different features, let's prioritize, and then let's take it into the actual prototypes to test the group challenges, avatars, pledges. What else did you left out? Because again, you need to clearly show in your case studies the divergence of it and convergence. How did you make that transition and how does it step into this more specific bit? And then you got some initial feedback. So you, I guess, went through and tested some of the ideas. I don't know, it could be a bit too early to capture that, to be honest. You wireframe the things. I'm not going to go too deep into the actual features itself. Again, this is about the process. You did some visual design and then you refined it and took it beyond the 2-week design sprint. In that case, you should state that up above because it certainly this weakens your project because it's like, oh, it's just 2 weeks of effort, right? Add that you actually did maybe 4 weeks, but 2 weeks were design sprint plus a continuation of actual refinements, user testing, XYZ. So, just strengthen your thing because it's rightful thing to do in this case. But I'm jumping through different presentations, you reflected. So this is almost like tracking the desirability of a thing, but you would need to be a bit more specific if you're user testing outcomes. And I would suggest you to maybe test it based on tasks. So let's say each feature like the community leaderboard or setting tier levels or viewing dashboard, you could define exactly what do you want to get out of it. And then user testing it and seeing what the severity is like, if they succeed, if they, let's say, fail in the task, or if it's in the middle and then you need to refine it. And therefore you make the changes to the features. Again, this is something I don't really typically highlight, but I think your testing could be much more specific and the outcomes could have been more specific here. You also talk about other features and things of that nature. You're talking about learnings. I would challenge you that it's not yet done because you need to test it further. Maybe you want to develop into something. And this is very common, I guess, theme in junior portfolios because you do this few weeks of effort and then you kind of cut it and then jump to the next thing and the next thing. The case studies you make, it shouldn't be focused on quantity or haste or speed of it. It should be focused on the depth. And so therefore I would advise you, instead of investing in, let's say, 3 different case studies or 3 different projects, make one very strong one, and that case study is going to be relevant for years to come, maybe even for mid-weight or senior roles as well. But having said that, this is a really great case study and great presentation. Again, it's just a few different bits which could be optimized, then take it like a notch up. And so for everyone else, if you enjoyed this video, smash that like button, subscribe to this channel, leave a comment down below, and on that note, I'll see you next time.